Well, hello there. I've been wanting to do a message about survival for a long time. It would be good for me if I can get it out of my brain. Unfortunately, you might not be the slightest bit interested. I'm standing in a gateway at quite a height. I'm certainly 600 or 700 feet above sea level. And when I first came to countryside, I really wanted to understand it, to know it, and to be known in it. So to be known by country people and farmers and be part of it. And we achieved that in a very modest way by having our own animals, and that gives you a link. And I'm standing here by a gateway, and I'm pleased that by looking at the furniture, we'll call it that, the facilities, I knew there was a good chance that there were cattle in this field. So first of all, the ground was tired near this doorway, and fresh tired. The dust has recently been churned up, and there are some very large facilities. So there's a trailer which they can put feed in, like silage and hay, and that's quite a commitment. You know, if the cattle weren't here, you wouldn't want to leave this here forever. You'd probably move it to another field, which made me then peer over the hedge to my left. So it looked like an empty field, but then I peered, and there's this lovely field of, my first guess is that they're heifers, Holstein Friesians or similar, and they're beautiful, lovely black and white cattle, very young, and most of them lying down since I got here, but they haven't seen me before. They might see me now because I'm peering over the hedge. There are 2 or 3 standing up, but there's now 5, 6 standing up. The rest are lying down in a group of about 30, and there's a fresh breeze here. So whereas there's no breeze down on the green, there's a fresh breeze, and that has made me think about survival. And what I wanted you to think about is when things go very wrong in bad weather, you need a principle or principles. But 3 points might be too much, 10 points might be too much. So I'm going to try and impart to you 1 point. And my distillation of survival, and I've had to practice it. I broke my leg out on the hills, and I had quite bad shock, but I got through it. And the first thing is that you need to achieve and identify what might be temporary survival. So not total survival. You might know that you need hospital, you might know that you need a warm place and medical care, but none of that can be available sometimes. If you're on a snowy road and you're in your warm of your car, your radio going, and you skid off, you go from being in a really safer environment possibly to one that isn't functioning anymore. Your windows may be broken, and the wind may be howling in, and the sleet and snow and rain or whatever it is may be coming in, and you've gone from one reality to a rather uncomfortable new reality. But temporary survival can often help. An example of that would be, I've been exhausted in the hills before now, gone mile after mile after mile, and on 1 or 2 occasions I've lain back in the grass, tall grass, and all the howling wind and all the weather just passes you by. You're absolutely immune, and you can have 10 or 20 minutes that will totally refresh your body, but also your mind, because when you're in bad weather or difficult circumstances, your mind gets very tired, and it can work too fast and not process correctly. So if you can create a temporary solace for yourself, a place where you're a bit more immune from your environment, then you can process and then create a plan, or realize that there is no plan. That's a bit morbid, and I'm sure you'll forgive me that, but you'll recognize and identify the key aspects of your situation. So why did I think about it, particularly this gateway? Because I've moved up to 500 feet, the breeze is a wee bit colder and more energetic, and therefore I naturally just moved along the gate in the direction that the wind's coming from, right up against the hedge. And if I do that, I can barely feel the breeze. It's very simple stuff, but it can be life-changing. I have created for myself temporary safety and somewhere where I can process and talk to you without the wind howling. Whereas I go, if I went in the middle of the field, or sometimes gateways are terrible places because they funnel the wind. The wind comes down one hedge and another hedge, and it can be much more forceful in a gateway than anywhere else. So another principle is that you create for yourself a barrier. So this hedge is my barrier, but what other barriers could there be? Well, I've told you, lying in the grass around you is a barrier, and the simplest barrier, which can be underestimated, is a very small tree. We all know a big tree, and of course if you find a big tree, that's a barrier, but we underestimate bushes and trees. They can cut the wind by, I would think, 50% when they're not very efficient, they haven't got much growth, but by much more than that, nearly, it would feel like 100% if you got a bush or a tree between you, and that could be a lifesaver. So the other one I have used, I've had people out with me who wouldn't listen to me out in hills, and they have become hypothermic, seriously hypothermic. They could have died, and we had to get such a person behind a wall initially and decide what we're doing, have a plan, and then get them down to safety. And that took hours and hours and hours to warm their core body temperature. So hopefully in here there's a snippet for you. Just before I go, in case any of you are really bored, I'm now looking, I can see one county, a fair part of one county and into its adjacent neighbour, and I'll allow you to know that Somerset and Dorset feature here, and if I went a little bit higher, I'd be looking to Wiltshire and South Gloucestershire and possibly Wales as well. So the other thing, maybe I'll give you another snippet. The farmers are getting in silage. So silage is grass that you can cut much earlier than hay. It doesn't need to dry, so you can have a higher moisture content, and it will ferment. And it's a very good crop to get cattle through winter, particularly if they're being housed internally. So here I am, I'm on a bend, and all the time I've been here, I think that might be the first car and one cyclist. So it's a lovely, peaceful spot. And on the silage, where the silage has been taken, the grass is paler colour because there's not so much grass left. And the crows are down there in their multitudes because it's easy feeding. They don't have to fight their way through thick grass. Whatever worms and bugs are left are exposed, and they can feed to their heart's content. And they're just moving occasionally, thinking that there's a better spot over there. And so I've got two fields like that. Now, the other thing I wanted to tell you, which I nearly forgot completely, was a beautiful, peaceful thing for me is how many fields can I see before the horizon becomes indistinct. You may still see wonderful things. So I'm going to count with you. I've got this field, then I just see the top of a hedge. So that tells me that the next area is a separate field. So that's 2. Then the crow field is 3. Then there's another field which looks linear, that's 4. Then there's another silage cut field, that's 5. There's another silage cut field, that's 6. And then I can see the top of a hedge behind a hedge. So that's 7 and possibly 8. And then yes, it is 8. And then that is 9, 10 and 11. So I can see 11 fields from where I'm standing, opening out, and so a little patchwork quilt, if you like. And then behind that, so that's not the end, there are fields where I can't really see the boundaries. I can see there are some boundaries, but I can't really define them, and I don't need to. I mean, what did I say? I've forgotten how many fields it was. 10 or 11 is enough. It's beautiful. It stretches out before me. And then you have more, I suppose, what I'd call vagueness. The beauty of vagueness. You don't need detail all the time, do you? It's an odd white house. Maybe I can see 10 or 20 white houses spotted on the horizon. I can see something shiny. It might be silage bales 1 mile, 2 miles from me. But I'm looking a long way. There's some brown looking fields, and I wonder what they might be. I don't know. And I don't need to know. That's the wonderful thing, isn't it? I suppose we don't need to know. There's a lot that we don't need to know. but it can still speak to us and give us energy. So I'm just turning around. I've got a herring gull going past in a sort of gentle flight. They're very efficient birds, aren't they? They can, on a bad wind day, they can turn into the wind, get height, go on their journey, turn back into the wind, get height, go on their journey. Well, I hope you can hear nothing, maybe some wind. But this is one of my favourite spots. I've got lots of favourite spots. I think I'll have to change the word from favourite to much loved spots. But I'm very comfortable here. The breeze is slightly chilly on my back, but the sun's on my back as well. So, and I've got a buzzard. I've got a pair of buzzards. And I'd say they're at 3,000 feet above me. Sufficient height that occasionally as they turn, I can't see them. And I would expect between here and home now, because the air is so good, that I'll see a red kite. Usually a much lower flight, 500 feet height, and very tight circles, whereas these buzzards are up high and they describe big circles in the sky. A kind of lazy looking flyer, but more than lazy, they're efficient. Well, that's enough twaddle for today, and have a great day.